Hi there. Today I'm going to discuss my top 10 favorite television programs. Number 10, Cribs. And this would also include shows like House Hunters. I really enjoy looking at floor plans and imagining what the different spaces are like. I get on Zillow and look at houses in the region where I live. There's something really comforting about allowing someone to walk you through their space. On YouTube, I often will watch apartment tours, and I find that if my aesthetic is matching up with someone who's describing the space to me, it's really soothing. I really love getting a glimpse into people's lives and how they live and how they arrange the decor and set up their living spaces. And on the Cribs TV program, sometimes there would be celebrities or musicians who I cared about. I was aware of their work, and that just made it even more interesting. Number 9, Face Off. I really loved this show. When it got to like season 4 or 5, I was kind of over it, but it was so interesting to watch the creative process. It's an art form that will completely transform the human being into like an alien or some other type of weird being. And I also really love other shows in that vein, like reality shows where there's a competition going on. So I've watched like every season of RuPaul's Drag Race. I've watched every episode of Ink Master. I even like Project Runway. And I find that when people are engaging in like this creative effort, and then you've got the added like stress that they layer on the combatants because of the competition, it makes for really, really good TV. And I love that format. So all those types of programs, and especially I think Face Off. It was really, really good. I was totally invested in those characters, those people. All right, number 8, XFiles. Okay. When the program came out and they were still publishing new episodes, I would watch them every time it came on. Mulder and Scully are a really awesome dynamic duo. They did a good job with the scripts of every different show, and it was a real adventure. Other shows have kind of tried to do that kind of a vibe with varying degrees of success, but the X-Files was the original and the best. I remember watching the DVDs and just going episode by episode by episode, and I really have a fond link in my mind of like the meals I was eating while I was watching X-Files, and having a situation where entertainment and dining and the situation that was surrounding me and the people who were there, it really has linked in my mind as like a really, really good time. So I enjoyed watching X-Files quite a lot, and I'm excited about the new program. Number 7, Star Trek: The Next Generation. Once again, when they were publishing new episodes, I was right there and watching every one. It's my favorite. Starship Crew. I have a poster of Next Generation right over there, and a poster of the original cast. But I never really watched so much of the original show. I love the human storylines. I like the variety that they put into the show. They really stretched down and did some strange episodes. Star Trek to me it's a great program because the dynamic between the different characters, the usual crew members who are on the show, is so awesome, and I really came to love those characters and their adventures. Number 6, Family Guy. This is one of the only humorous shows on the list. When Family Guy came out, it made The Simpsons obsolete, and of course The Simpsons did like 20 seasons, so everybody grew up watching The Simpsons, but the quick, lightning fast humor and the wit that was the hallmark of the Family Guy TV program made it way better. And I still think that it's very viable, and it has something to say about modern culture. Every episode is so fast and so attuned to the modern mind. When I'm watching it, time just flies by because there aren't any lulls at all. It's rapid fire entertainment. It is humorous. Every show gives me a chuckle at least one point, and I will sit down and watch Family Guy pretty much any time. It's very, very funny, very valid, and a very modern TV show, and it really takes this spot on my list because it is like the top tier of kind of humorous sitcoms in this day and age, I think, because it's so culturally aware. Number 5, Flight of the Conchords. These guys are so funny. I identify with them. Their humor is so great. There is a movie that came out about a year ago called What We Do in the Shadows, and it features one of the main guys, one of the two guys who was in Flight of the Conchords. It's that same style of humor. It's fast. It's like rollicking. It's like this rambunctious vibe to the humor. It's got this like, it doesn't have like a, it's got this like rolling sort of like humor. I don't really know how to describe it. I love the show, the situations that they get in, and the musical segues that they do. It just creates for a really enlivening show, and it makes me love the characters and care about them. They're so likable. Those guys draw you in and make you really want to be on their side. And they're hapless, and the situations are absurd, but it's also very, very real. An excellent show, and I've not seen every episode, but I should probably get a hold of the complete set and watch it all. It's so funny. It's good. Number 4, Tales from the Crypt. Alright, there was this TV show called, this video game called The Seventh Guest, and this was in the very early days of computer fabrication of an interior space and the camera moving around through it. And it was this creepy old mansion where you had to figure out the puzzles and solve the mystery about the ghosts or the ghouls that inhabited the place. And the intro to Tales from the Crypt was very much like Seventh Guest. And I remember it being the most awesome thing I had ever seen in my life. And I still think that they did such a fantastic job. I also really liked the movies that were kind of like that, where they would do short, let me think, what was it called? Like Creep Show, where they would do a short mini movie and just tack several of them together and make a whole film about it. I think that they were even more creative and creepy than the XFiles episodes. They weren't afraid to take risks and do really, really odd and off-the-wall kinds of strange scenarios for each different show, wildly different, and a treasure, a real treasure. And they were not afraid to add a little bit of humor in there. And I really like how so many different, I'm not sure if they did it this way, but you just get so many different actors and actresses and so many directors together and writers, and they just throw everything into the stew pot, and the most absurd stuff rises to the top, and then they just film it, and you get this awesome TV program. Number 3 for me is the TV show Lost. So I didn't watch it when it was coming out. Instead, I waited until it was all out on DVD, and I checked them out from the university where I went. And one winter, I watched every single episode except one. And the blonde actress, I forgot her name, the character's name, but she was screaming her head off through one of the TV shows, and it just wouldn't end. It was just like, it was this endless chase scene of her like caterwauling, and something else was going. So I skipped right through that one, but every other episode I watched. And I think that there was maybe a little bit of a lull in seasons 3 and 4, and then the university had a hard time getting seasons 5 and 6 for me, so I had to wait. It was this torturous wait of like a week or two. and I think they wrapped it up well. The last 2 seasons didn't bother me. The resolution didn't bother me. I liked how they kept compounding mystery after mystery, and the fact that they didn't all shake out didn't bother me at all, really. I liked the exploratory aspect. There were so many characters. It's probably the show on this list that has the most characters that you have to care about, or that they have differing goals and things. The wide cast, the sense that they were just going to throw a monkey wrench into things, and the writers were being very experimental, and they didn't. It left the audience wondering what's going to happen next and how they were going to resolve things. And I liked that tension and the sensation that anything could happen, and that resolution wasn't going to be tidy. And for me, I kind of liked that. And I cared about the characters and everything. Everything was it was the first show that I marathoned and would sit up and watch episode after episode after episode. And I'm glad I saw it in that format all at once instead of trying to wait week after week. Number 2 for me is a TV program called Claudius. And this was published by BBC, and it stars John Hurt as the insane emperor Caligula, and the TV show outlines the rise and fall of several Roman emperors, and you get all of the intrigue. It's paced, it's kind of a plodding pace. You have not a lot of bombast. It really is just the story. It's based on a book, the story of these emperors and the people who surround them, and the set pieces are very rich. The costumery is great, and that performance by John Hurt as Caligula is great. Of course, it pales in comparison to Malcolm McDowell's performance as Caligula, but it stands on its own as a very, very strong performance. A great show. Piecing together history like that and putting it in a digestible format, something that can be enjoyed, it makes for excellent TV. Probably not super exciting by today's standards, but I do remember enjoying it quite a lot. And number 1, my favorite TV program, Game of Thrones. This is an easy one for me. I have long been a fan of that universe. When I heard that it was coming out, among my friend group, it was this huge deal. I remember waiting before each episode came on. I gathered with some friends and watched every episode as they premiered. It made some strange casting choices because, if you've read a book or a series of books, there's this idea in your mind about how the characters look. And, it may or may not be based on the descriptions that the author writes, because we all latch on to different imagery in our own minds. And a couple of the actors and actresses didn't quite match with how I thought that they were going to look in my mind. But now that I've seen so many episodes and so many seasons, it's just like those are the characters now. And it's funny how that transition took place. I'm glad it was made by HBO and they weren't afraid to put in all of the elements of violence and sex and everything. It's extremely well done. The characterizations are good. The actors and actresses do such a phenomenal job. It's a fantastic TV program, and it will probably always remain my favorite because that gritty world, they really made it come to life, and it's a universe that myself and many, many other people care about, and they took the source material and did something wonderful with it, and it makes for gripping TV as the intrigue and the different storylines weave among one another. It's so fantastic. So, there we are, my top 10 television programs.